Hi, and welcome to the Digital Freedom Coach podcast with me, Eric Olson. Here, we go in depth and talk about how you can use digital tools to create more freedom in your life. Are you, as me, curious about how you can work remotely, how you can build a business online, and what it actually takes to create the life of your dreams? Then this is the podcast for you. For more info on what we do, check out thedigitalfreedomcoach.com. And we have a new powerful episode, my dear powerful listener. Be bold, be brave, be massive, and challenge yourself. You can do whatever you set out to do. So let's go to the topic. Okay, so today I want to ask you one question. Do you know your avatar? What? Yeah, do you know your avatar? I got this question and I saw these tall blue figures from the fantasy science fiction movie Avatar in front of me. And what are you talking about? Like, what avatar? So avatar is basically your target audience, your group, your peeps. Who are you serving? Who do you want to help? And how can you help them? Well, maybe not so much how, like who. Like, let's focus on the who, right? So I signed up to become a primal health coach. So I did this kind of online course. It was an American course. I'm a primal health coach today, so I also have clients, mostly in Swedish, but I built that part of my business all online, of course. That's part of why this pod is called the Digital Freedom Coach. I want to help more people to create an online business. Anyway, so that was the first time I got that question. Okay, like, who is my avatar? Like, who do I really want to serve? That's kind of confusing, right? It's difficult. I mean, it can be seriously difficult. For me, it was very difficult. To some degree, it still is, right? So who do I want to help with their health issues? And if I kind of ask that question, that also means, like in the primal health coach part of my business building, right? So, okay, who do I want to help? Like, what sort of health issues do they have? Or like, maybe I should have another angle on it. Like, do they like movement and sports? Are they into fitness? And I can share this here in the pod as well. Like, I am a primary health coach today, and I began to become. I wanted to study to become a primary health coach as I'm into movement myself. And I wanted to find a way where I could boost performance, I could boost health. I still love endurance sports like triathlon, ultramarathon, trail running, and all of these things, right? So I wanted to boost my performance in those areas and also create a business in that area. And I wanted to build something online. So, in that sense, who was my avatar? And today, I'm also, like, in another phase. I'm also building an international business. Okay, so I'm also expanding a business, and I'm looking for potential business partners. And it's kind of, everything's kind of connected, but it's not the same target group. That is another target group. Are you following me? My dear listener, like, they can be interested in the same things, but it's most likely like another group, right? So the person that wants to boost the performance trail running might not be the person that want to kind of build an international business online. They can be, but they don't have to be. So then I have two target audiences. Confusing? Might be confusing. So let's go back to the basics here. Okay, so what is an avatar? An avatar, my dear listener, and this is important for you to know if you are building some sort of business, which you are, because that is the reason why you're listening to this podcast. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same thing as I do. It can be something else, but you're building a business. So you need to know who you're serving. And who do you resonate with? What are their interests? What are their professions? What do they kind of do for a living? Connected, right? What are their hobbies? What are they passionate about? Importantly, what are their challenges? What are they facing every day? What are they struggling with? where do they want to go, who do they want to be, how do they want to live, what are their main goals, what do they want to achieve, how old are they, gender, male, female, age, where do they live, big city, small city, huge city, metropolis, a small cabin in the forest. And I kind of want to share that because if you know, my dear listener, like if you know your avatar, like if you know who you target, then everything else is easier, right? Makes sense? If you know that I'm targeting someone who is 55 years old, male, he lives in a cabin in the forest, and he works as an accountant online, okay, then it might be easier to see what is that person struggling with, right? So how can I help them? How can I form and kind of design my marketing and everything I do to fit that person so he can sort of discover and resonate with me and my message? And it's not necessarily an easy process. It takes time. I've been working with this for a few years now, and I'm still kind of designing, sculpturing my avatar, right? So if you know that, like the short-term benefit, okay, you can actually design your message. You know who you're talking with. And of course, the long-term benefits would be that will make a massive impact in your business and your whatever you do on social media, because you will find people that resonates with your message, and you will have higher engagement, you will have more traffic, you will have more business, right? Makes sense? So it's not an easy process, but it's something that is very important that you actually do and start to write down. And what I found is also that when you start to sketch your avatar, right? And so that will also be your directive. that will be your task, like your mission, right? Is to start to write down who your avatar is. What I found that can be easy in your process when you sort of design your avatar is to think of yourself, like who were you maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, like when you made that change. Because if you're listening to this podcast, it means you are building your business. You're kind of at the beginning phase of building your business, or you're thinking about building some sort of business online. You want to become free, but you're still looking for an opportunity. You're still looking for some sort of a tool or some sort of framework to get you there, right? You get to kind of at the beginning, you have some fears, you have some challenges, you don't really know exactly how to do it, or you're at the next step when you know how to do it, but you're still kind of struggling with certain things. And possibly also, if you're listening to this podcast, I think you kind of you're working on your own, you're self-employed, you have a small business, maybe have someone else, like one person, maybe have a 2-person business working with you, right? So you're a small business owner, or you're at like the pre-phase of establishing your business. You see what I did there? That is my avatar for this podcast. Because those are the people like you listening to this podcast. You are the person I feel I can help. You get that? Like my dear listener. So if you resonate with that message, like what I shared, okay, then I found my target audience, right? So target audience can be age, gender, location, what are they doing, profession, hobbies, but it can also be a mindset, right? It can be a mindset of where are you and what do you want to do? Where are your avatar? Where is your avatar and what do they want to do? So two things. One thing is, if you are like into the business area or you're thinking about doing something, think about what made you change, right? What made you take that decision to go into business or impact your health or build that relationship or create something? Something happened, right? Something always happens. So my dear listener, something happened. So I wanted to think about that, because the person you were before, the kind of the pre-happening phase, the pre-phase, that might also be your avatar. So if you imagine yourself back in the pre-changed phase, and that is your avatar, what would you like to say to that person? Okay, so what would you like to say to that person? So imagine my avatar, like I shared my avatar, but that is shaped on myself, right? Before I began to make other changes in my life. So what happened in my case, like what's my story? Okay, so when I was like in my 30s, my dad passed. I moved to another city. I lived in that city for a few years, and I felt this kind of frustration, right? Frustration and irritation and anger at some occasions, and also depression. I was sad. I met lots of people. I had a good time in many senses, but it was a tough time. I was struggling because when my dad passed, I started to think, and I had this insight, and I started to realize that me, that is you as well, you only live once, right? You only live once, so it's like it's like your obligation to live life to the fullest extent possible. I like the word obligation. It's kind of it's a hard word, right? It's your right. I'm not sure if it's your right, but it's your obligation. You have to do whatever you can do to live life to the fullest extent possible. You can't afford not to. You can't afford to just go on and live an okay life until you're in your 60s or 70s, and then start to live. Or you go to the old people's home and your life is about to end, and you lie on that bed and you're about to die. Right? Dramatic, but life is dramatic. And you think of your life and, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done, created a family, or climbed that mountain, or crossed that desert, or lived more, in harmony, or experienced more, traveled more. Like, I don't want you, my dear listener, to think that. Okay, that's my mission. I want to help you so you can kind of get unstuck, right? And that is also one of the reasons I created this podcast. So, okay, so that's my story. So my dad passed in my 30s, and then I had a few years when I tried a few things. So that wasn't really the phase where that is not still my avatar. Like, my avatar is like afterwards, when I kind of got settled in this new city. I had this job, but then I kind of matured. Okay, and I was looking for something. I was open-minded. I was ready to build something. I was there. I was waiting for something. That's my avatar. Maybe I was 34, 35. I had been working at that place for about 3 years. I was open to new opportunities. I was looking for a way out. I wanted to get rid of the 9 to 5. I wanted to become a digital nomad. I wanted to travel more. That is my nomad. That is my avatar. Okay. So maybe if you, like my listener here, okay? If you imagine your avatar, maybe it's the same. Maybe it's like you a few years ago. Okay, so if it's you a few years ago, what would you have like to say to yourself? What would you like to tell yourself? Imagine you are in that stage a few years ago, like you're 34, like I was, and all of a sudden this kind of science fiction teleportal thing opens from nowhere, and you see yourself in the future, from the future, talking to yourself, right? Like, weird, bizarre, okay, but let's imagine this scenario. What would you tell yourself? Would you have this message of, hey, Eric, maybe you should do this and that, and you could create a business, and maybe you could try something? Or would you be more like, Eric, I see what you've been doing, it's not working, you should try this, you should try to create a business, you should think like this, let's read these books? Like, obviously you would be more passionate about helping yourself, right? You wouldn't have a mediocre message, a blend message, like a gray, vague message. You would be powerful. You would, throw in your dynamite, your gunpowder into the mix, right? You would really try to help that person to be something, to go somewhere, to take direction and go for their goals, That's what I think anyway. So that can be your avatar. It can also be something completely different. Like I have a good colleague of mine, she helps people with diabetes. She's not having it herself. That can be an avatar. But I want you to think about that. So if you talked with yourself 5 years ago, what would you say? Okay, so what would you say if you talked with yourself 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, or 10 years ago, okay? Whenever you made that change. So I'm still working on my own avatar. It's better designed than it's ever been. And for me, it's mostly like a mindset avatar, okay? So it's someone in the 45, like between 35 and 45 years old. Can be male, female, preference for male, as I'm a guy myself. They're kind of tired of a regular 9-to-5 routine. They know there's something more in life, and they want to kind of break free and try something different, okay? So I painted a picture earlier in the same podcast of an avatar, and now I kind of re-emphasize that avatar, right? And importantly, in the regards of the digital freedom coach, and my mission is to help you to crush your obstacles so you can become free. Okay, so like you can become free. That is my mission. But that means you also need an entrepreneurial mindset somehow. So I'm targeting people that are open-minded and have an entrepreneurial mindset. So that's what I wanted to share today. I hope it made sense. I hope you see some value in this. And the task then is to write down your avatar, take your pen and paper and start to write and sketch. And please share your results with me as well. You can email me or follow me on social media and share what you found about your avatar. And also please share this episode if you found value. Maybe you know some colleagues or business associates and they kind of need to think about these things as well. Please share. Have a powerful day. Be bold, be massive, go all in, take action, and believe in yourself. Talk soon. Bye.